The species I came from, the Kirakan people, are not emotional. At all. We once were, and as a prey-species on a pre-civilized world, we felt all sorts of wonderful emotions like fear and anxiety. But, as we evolved and developed science, we realized that our emotions could be eradicated with a simple oral treatment via pill prescription. We did just that, and it worked wonders for our world. We grew our cities into sprawling metropolises. We cured our sick and uplifted our poor into prosperity. Our scientific studies made leaps and bounds after the clear-headed initiative, and our structure began to modify itself to place scientists at the spearheads of the government. Our circle style of government was erected not long after, and each rung of the high circle is comprised of differing types of high scientists. But this memorandum was not submitted to the anonymous consortium confessions hall to blather on about my species. No. This memorandum was given to you so that you may forever record how I fell from grace, in the most fantastic and awesome of ways. You see, I met a human, a long time ago, one with unruly black fur atop his head and piercing blue predator eyes. He was the captain of a spacefaring vessel, and a pirate captain no less. He piloted an angular monstrosity of an SFV that was discontinued by the consortium many decades ago, and therefore, as he once put it, would hide us exceptionally well from those bastards' radar. His crew was full of different species, from towering herbivores with bioluminescent fans, chittering carnivores armed with razor-sharp teeth and hacking skills, the list goes on. I had the fortune to meet this colourful crew shortly after my exile from the Kirakan Nest world, my only crime being my natural resistance to the emotional suppressants we are required to take every day. They found me on the very edge of Kirakan space, dejected and alone. I had nowhere to go, and my lofty dreams of being a high scientist, with an emphasis in xenobiology study, were completely in tatters. So, despite my utter terror and dread, the idea of being within an aggressive human's general proximity for the foreseeable future, I agreed to join his crew as his personal xenobiologist and species deception officer. Now, the record must know that I was horrified to be within the same cramped human space with a human to begin with. Humanity are classified as Type 3s on the Kirakan Predator scale, specifically as apex predators, and on top of that they lived on a death world. A death world with omnipresent danger on all sides, but they never take measures to eradicate their fellow competitive predators or tame the harsh surrounding environment. And me, I was a deficient, overly emotional prey animal in the territory of a predator. I thought I stood no chance, and that I'd be dead within the week and jettisoned out into the cold depths of space as my modest funeral service. But as the weeks went on and I became more accustomed to my new environment aboard the human's pirate ship, I learned humanity's culture. I gained vital knowledge that any higher scientist would find enviable, straight from the human captain's lips. He told me about his homeworld, how humans view their alien neighbours, and about how his toothy predatory teeth baring was actually called a smile. My instincts quieted down around him, and his crew slowly but steadily, and eventually I was able to become a valuable asset to their unit. I was now responsible for informing the captain about any critical weaknesses or flaw in any species we encountered during our raids, on other spacefaring vessels. I also helmed our diplomacy efforts with other pirates, since I am quite good with words according to the captain's opinion, and could weave an argument like no other. He became my confidant in times of stress, and he was the first living being I told about my genetic aberration that caused me to be ousted by the Kirakan High Circle. My emotions. When I revealed my greatest shame, he laughed. I thought it was a guttural, animalistic bark at the time, but he later informed me that it was indeed a humorous laugh. He leaned in close with sudden seriousness, and looked me straight in the eye then, and growled something that I'll never forget. He simply said, "Never let anyone tell you that having emotions is wrong. Your emotions make you strong, and they are cowards for taking the easy way out of life." The shock I felt at having heard those words was immense. What the captain had said was tantamount to high treason amongst the Kirakan people. The state of being emotionless was extremely useful scientifically to our people, and it allowed us to be supremely rational at all times. Our decisions were made quickly and concisely without any bickering or fighting amongst the leadership. No petty disputes occurred. People were satisfied with their current state, and if they weren't, they were taken care of with just as much rationality as before. However, the captain had come along and, with barely any effort at all on his part, shattered my lifelong beliefs in one swift motion. He revealed the terrifying undercurrent of the higher circle's emotionless mandate. We could no longer experience life itself in our dogged pursuit of scientific excellence. Jokes were considered attention-seeking, and therefore useless to scientific knowledge. Leisure activities were taking time away from our all-important time in the labs. Socialization between researchers was kept to the absolute minimum, and so on. We could not even enjoy the simple pleasures of a rich-tasting food, because we had deemed exotic foods as unnecessary luxury items, and long since purged them from our diet. This was all broken down with his argument that we were not true living creatures, existing in the present moment. We were instead essentially automatons, lifeless robots going through the perfunctory motions of life to serve an unknowable master's purpose. I was inconsolable. My government, my own people even, were lifeless, dead, cold, straight-edged, and forever closed off to me now. The only thing I thought to do was embrace my new role as a true pirate on my human captain's ship. And embrace my new position I did. I launched myself into whatever mission we were on with gusto, as the captain put it. I sat up front with everyone else on the bridge whenever we approached another vessel. I studied each new species we came across with renewed vigor, and eventually I graduated to actually attending the raids personally. A pirate raid on another star-faring vessel is quite ferocious, and there was violence everywhere I turned. My captain always attempted to have a cool head whenever possible, but by his own admission he had a hot temper and an even hotter trigger finger. He went into combat guns blazing and with terrifying efficiency. His eyes would lock onto an enemy and he would mercilessly shoot them down, 0 questions asked. He was even more impressive if any creature was threatening his beloved crew. He had an undying loyalty to us and would not stand to see any of us hurt in the line of duty, so he became a raging inferno when we inevitably accrued injuries. I saw that look in his eyes right before the gory slaughter, that haunting mixture of glacial calm and supreme glee at the thought of a hunt. Later, I learned how to use guns of all sorts as well. The captain thought it prudent to teach me personally, so I was improving rapidly, and notably under his watchful gaze. My accuracy was perfect, due to my species' natural impeccable eyesight, and after a little bit of muscle gain I could heft the heavier guns. I loved the feeling of cold metal in my feathered claws, as I rained hellfire upon my enemies, and took every opportunity possible to foray into battle with my crewmates. Soon it was impossible to pry me away from field work, and even the captain barked after my zeal. I just couldn't help myself. There was this intense rushing feeling within my hot blood during every skirmish and near-death experience. It felt like I was constantly high on Kowakan leaves during these periods. Time melted away, and it was just me and my gun. The bullets were an extension of my claws, and they ripped so satisfyingly through the enemy's soft flesh. I relentlessly pursued that rush after I had finally pinpointed its exact origin. I sought out every potential battle. I begged the captain to let me accompany him on simple supply missions to dangerous worlds, all in the hope that we'd pick a fight somewhere, and I'd have an excuse to engage in glorious combat. He never once denied me that opportunity to accompany him, often giving the reason that he was a social animal and liked the constant companionship. But I have a sneaking suspicion that he knew of my affliction. The glittering sparkle in his icy blue eyes told me that he knew and approved. He loved having a partner who was just as bloodthirsty as him on the crew. And that was the right name for it, I know now. As I am writing down these words to the confessional, I know that he thought of us as true equals. My wonderful apex predator human captain held me up as an honorary predator for my death-seeking behavior and lust for adrenaline. He saw that glimmer of hunter instinct behind my eyes, just as I saw it in him time and time again. I became his first mate not long ago, and I am proud to say that we go on every adventure together, side by side, predatory smile by predatory smile. I am delighted to embrace my true self, and I never would have found them if not for my genetic deficiency, my species' utter stupidity, and my captain's impossible kindness. One last thing before I send off this memorandum to the confessional. My name is Kelyan, of the SFV Vagabond, and my captain's name is Henry Stryker. He has given me full and enthusiastic consent to release our names and ship information to the Galactic Consortium of Unified Species. Why would we do this, you might be asking? Not only is this revelation of our names breaking the spirit of the anonymous confessional service, but it is painting a huge, irreversible target on our backs. You know what we have to say about that target? Good. We want it there. We encourage, nay, we beg you to send your best forces in hot pursuit of our illegal spacefaring pirate ship. We are ready to meet you on the battlefield and stand over your corpses with burning hellfire in our eyes. We dare you. Come and get us, if you can. I am so excited to see what dangers you'll conjure up just for us.